Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are doing something that I honestly think is one of the most interesting things we can do on this show.
It's a little different for us, for sure.
Yeah. Usually, we take a stack of business books or maybe some dense scientific papers, and we parse them for data.
Yeah.
We look for the bottom line.
The actionable takeaways.
Exactly. But today we are parsing a mood, we are parsing a memory, we're stepping into a time machine, but not the kind that takes you back to ancient Rome or the Jurassic period.
No, this is much more recent and in some ways much more raw.
We are going back to a moment that feels like it happened yesterday and a lifetime ago simultaneously. We are going to New York City, October 2001.
6 weeks. That is the specific time frame we are looking at today. It's so important to zero in on that. We are zooming in on that very fragile, very strange window exactly 6 weeks after the towers fell.
And we're using a fascinating lens to look at this. We aren't looking at a history textbook. We're not pulling up a government commission report.
No, nothing so dry.
We are looking at S.J. Rozan's novel, Absent Friends. And the reason we're doing this, the mission of this deep dive, is because sometimes fiction, really good fiction, captures the emotional truth of a moment better than any news report ever could.
I completely agree. Rozan captures what was called the new normal. And if you were there or, if you studied the sociology at that moment, you know that phrase new normal was really a defense mechanism.
A coping mechanism.
Totally. It was a way of saying everything is absolutely broken. The world has changed forever, but we still have to buy groceries and pick up the dry cleaning. Life has to go on, even when it feels impossible.
So let's set the sensory stage here, because the source material is incredibly visceral about this. It doesn't just tell you it was a sad time. It immerses you. And the first thing that hits you isn't the visuals, it's the smell.
Right. The smell. That is the detail that comes up again and again in the text and in all the primary accounts from that time.
And you have to remember, downtown New York usually smells like the harbor. It's salt water, exhaust, maybe, roasting nuts or hot dogs from a street vendor.
It's a very specific, organic city smell.
Yeah.
A living smell. But in October 2001, if the wind shifted just right, it was something else entirely. It was an astringent odor.
Astringent, that's a perfect word for it. It's described as this mix of, burning plastic, pulverized concrete, and something unnervingly organic.
And it just hung there. You couldn't escape it. It wasn't like you could just close a window to shut it out.
No, it was in the atmosphere itself. People would say they'd wash their clothes, and an hour later, the smell would be back on them, and it clung to everything.
And then you have the visuals. The book paints this image of people just walking through their daily lives, walking past bus shelters. In a normal city, in a normal time, you walk past a bus shelter and you see, an ad for a new shampoo or a movie blockbuster.
A car insurance ad, yeah.
But in this city, in October 2001, it was just the word missing.
Waddle.
Layer upon layer. And it wasn't just on bus shelters. It was on lampposts, on store windows taped to the sides of buildings. A city papered in grief.
And the details on those posters, that's what just breaks you when you read this. It's not just a name and a photo.
No, it's the desperate, heartbreaking specificity needed to identify a body that might not be whole. It's things like, has a tattoo of a rose on the left shoulder.
Was wearing a blue tie with yellow flecks. Has a small scar on the chin from a childhood bike accident. It's these tiny details of a life held up as a last hope.
And it created a very specific public mood, a strange cocktail of exhaustion, patriotism, and just fragility. The sources describe people greeting each other with lovely weather because, ironically, the autumn of 2001 was meteorologically beautiful.
Just perfect fall weather.
Oh!
Crisp, golden.
Perfect autumn weather, clear blue skies. But nobody could look at the sky.
Because the blue sky was a trigger.
It reminded everyone of that Tuesday morning, the severe clear, as the pilots called it. So you have this city that is traumatized, paralyzed, and trying desperately to act normal. And right in the middle of this paralysis, we have a mystery. This is the setup for our deep dive.
It's a collision between two men who represent the absolute polar opposites of that moment.
On one side, you have the saint, the hero, the personification of sacrifice, and on the other, you have the scoundrel, the cynic, the personification of doubt.
And the inciting incident, the hook that drags us into this whole rabbit hole, happens on October 30, 2001. A body is found. It's on the rocks beneath the Verrazano Narrows Bridge.
Now, in a city of 8 million people, unfortunately, a jumper off a bridge is a tragedy, but it's usually treated as a statistic. It makes page 20 of the paper, if that.
Right. It's a sad but not uncommon story.
But this one is different. This is Harry Randall.
And Harry Randall is or was a heavyweight. We're talking about a Pulitzer Prize winner, a reporter for the New York Tribune. He's the kind of guy who defined New York journalism in the 90s.
Oh, yeah. Tough, cynical, brilliant. The kind of guy who knew where all the bodies were buried because he probably watched someone dig the hole.
But the official story regarding his death, suicide, case closed, he jumped.
Which, on the surface, fits the narrative, doesn't it? Harry had been struggling. The newsroom whispered that he was a washed-up drunk.
He hadn't landed a really big front-page scoop in 5 years. And let's be honest, depression in the wake of 9/11, it's a plausible story. A lot of people were on the edge.
It is plausible, utterly plausible, except for one massive complication that the police overlooked or, maybe chose to ignore.
And what's that?
Harry Randall wasn't writing a puff piece when he died. He wasn't sitting at home mourning. He was hunting. And he was hunting a national saint.
And this is where the tension just explodes. Harry was investigating Captain James Jimmy McCaffrey.
And we really need to pause on McCaffrey because we have to understand the context of October 2001. In that specific month, you did not touch the FDNY. They were gods. They were the only thing holding the city's psyche together.
You couldn't criticize them. You couldn't question them.
You could even look at them sideways. And Jimmy McCaffrey wasn't just a firefighter. He was the firefighter.
He was the archetype. They called him Superman. And the source material makes it crystal clear. This wasn't just post-death hyperbole. This wasn't a case of he died, so now he's a hero. The man had a decades-long service record that read like an action movie script.
So here is the mission for this episode. We have two bodies. One is buried in the rubble of the World Trade Center, the hero, Jimmy McCaffrey. The other is broken on the rocks under a bridge. The scoundrel, Harry Randall. And the question isn't just who killed Harry.
No, it's deeper than that.
It's what did Harry know about the hero that was worth killing for?
Okay, let's really dig into this saint and the scoundrel dynamic, because this is the engine of the entire story. Tell me about Jimmy McCaffrey. What made him Superman? What was it about his personality?
It's interesting, looking at the character study provided in the book, Jimmy wasn't a loudmouth. He wasn't the guy at the bar bragging about how many fires he put out.
He wasn't a glory hound.
Not at all. The book describes him as quiet, intense. He had this supernatural calm. Even in the middle of chaos, he was the center of gravity. He was the guy everyone else looked to.
The sources mention the 1984 rooftop photo. Paint that picture for us, because it sounds just incredible.
It's iconic, and if you've ever seen it, it's unforgettable. Imagine a black and white photograph, really grainy, high contrast. You see two old brick tenements. Between them, there's a gap of maybe 6 or 8 feet, an alleyway.
Okay.
There are flames licking up the sides of the brick on both buildings, and there, suspended in midair, is a silhouette. It's Jimmy McCaffrey in full gear helmet, coat, oxygen tank leaping from one burning roof to the other.
Leaping.
It's the kind of photo that hangs in every firehouse in the city. It captures the essence of impossible. It's pure courage.
And then there's the 1988 rescue. This one is even wilder to me. It's one thing to be brave, it's another to do.
This one is, this is next level, a fire in a high-rise. He rappels down the side of the building, which is already crazy when it's on fire.
Right.
He gets to a window where a mother and her baby are trapped. He grabs the baby, secures it, brings the baby down to the ground. Then he goes back up.
Goes back up,
grabs the mother, brings her down safely. Mission accomplished. Any normal hero would be done for the day.
But not Jimmy.
And then, and this is the absolute key to his psychology, he goes back inside the burning building again.
But why? He got the mom and the baby. The immediate danger was over.
He heard a rumor. Someone in the crowd shouted that there might be another child inside. It wasn't confirmed, just a panicked shout.
And that was enough for him.
It was enough. He didn't hesitate. He went back into the inferno. It turns out there was no other child. He came out with a terrified cat and a twisted ankle.
Wow. But that establishes the pattern, doesn't it? First in, last out. It's not just a motto for him.
It's his entire being. And we actually get a flashback to him as a 4-year-old in the book. It's a really telling detail. He's wearing a little plastic red fire helmet, and there's a neighborhood bonfire. All the other kids are running away from the heat.
And what does Jimmy do?
He's trying to run toward it. His dad has to hold him back.
So it suggests that this isn't just a job for him. It's a pathology. A benevolent pathology, absolutely. But a pathology nonetheless.
I think that's the right word. He has a compulsion to save. He runs toward the danger because he believes, deep down, that he's the only one who can control it.
Which brings us to the ultimate manifestation of that pathology. September 11, he's commanding Ladder Company 62. They are in the North Tower. It's the end of the world inside that building. But the survivors recount something chilling about Jimmy.
There's a specific account from a civilian survivor named Elizabeth Murray. It's one of the most powerful passages in the source material. She's stumbling down the stairs. It's chaos, smoke, screaming, water from the sprinklers cascading down the steps.
It's just a vision of hell.
And she sees a firefighter calmly directing people. It's Jimmy. He's efficient. He's pointing, go this way, keep moving. He's the rock in the river of panic. But then she sees him turn.
He doesn't go down with the flow of traffic. He doesn't evacuate with everyone else.
No. He heads up into the fire, and she says he was smiling.
That detail stops me cold every time I read it. Smiling. In that situation.
Smiling broadly. According to her account, he looks at his men who are helping the evacuees, and he tells them the job's up there, and he walks into the smoke alone.
See, that's so complex. We have to unpack that smile. Is that bravery? Is that courage? Or is that fatalism?
Or something else.
It's almost like the ultimate version of the thing he was made for.
I think it's all of those things. It's the saint narrative in its purest form. He is sacrificing himself for the flock, and the city needs that story. Desperately.
Why do they need it so much?
They need to believe that men like Jimmy went up those stairs with a smile because it makes the loss bearable. It frames it as a conscious choice, a heroic act, rather than a senseless slaughter.
It gives it meaning.
It gives it meaning, but then enter the scoundrel, Harry Randall. He's the pin that pops that balloon. He's the guy who looks at that saintly smile and asks, what's he hiding?
And Harry is the ink-stained wretch. He's the opposite of Jimmy in every conceivable way. Jimmy saves people, Harry exposes them. Jimmy is all physical action. Harry is intellectual cynicism.
Jimmy builds the myth. Harry is there to tear it down.
But Harry catches a scent. He's supposed to be writing a tribute piece, the lost heroes of 9/11. It's an easy assignment.
The easiest, just reprint the press release, cry a little, write something poignant, and cash the check. But Harry, being Harry, he doesn't just read the press release. He starts making calls. He checks the books.
And he finds a loose thread. A financial anomaly? It involves Jimmy's inner circle, this group of childhood friends from Staten Island, and a mysterious flow of money to a widow named Sally Keegan.
We're going to get into the mechanics of that money in a minute because it is a wild, complicated scheme. But the stakes are this. 2 days before he dies, Harry publishes a bombshell. It's not the main story, just a piece of it, but it's enough. He alleges that Jimmy McCaffrey St. Jimmy was funneling illicit cash.
Illicit cash, not just, helping out a friend.
Yeah. No, the implication was much darker. And you have to imagine the reaction. The city is raw. They are bleeding. And here comes this washed-up, drunk reporter spitting on the grave of a national martyr.
The blowback must have been insane.
Intense. People canceled subscriptions. They sent death threats to the paper. The mayor denounced the story.
So when Harry ends up dead under a bridge just 48 hours later, a lot of people probably thought, good riddance. Or, well, karma caught up with him.
Exactly. It was convenient. It tidied everything up. But to understand why Jimmy McCaffrey, a man who saved cats and babies, would need illicit cash, and why Harry Randall would risk his life to find it, we have to leave 2001. We have to go back in time.
Way back.
We have to go to the 1970s. We have to go to Staten Island.
This is section 2 of our dive, the 7. Because Absent Friends isn't just a story about two men. It's a story about a tribe.
The 7. It's a classic tight-knit neighborhood dynamic. The setting is Pleasant Hill, Staten Island, and you get the sense that it's an insular world. Everyone knows everyone. Everyone's parents know everyone else's parents.
And the group is 4 boys. Jimmy McCaffrey, Marky Keegan and the Malloy brothers, Tom and Jack, and 3 girls, Marion, Sally, and Vicky.
They grew up in each other's pockets, and the source material uses these incredible, vivid flashbacks to show us how their adult roles were solidified when they were just kids. It's like their destinies were written on the playground.
Let's start with the most pivotal moment, the one that really explains Jimmy McCaffrey's psyche, the Highland Boulevard crossing. This is September 1978.
The scene is so cinematic. Highland Boulevard is this massive, dangerous 8-lane road that just cuts through Staten Island. It's notorious. It's night. The boys are teenagers, full of that specific teenage cocktail of adrenaline, stupidity, and a feeling of invincibility.
And they decide to do something stupid.
They decide to run across it against the light. It's a rite of passage, playing chicken with death.
Okay, so they all make a run for it.
Exactly. They take off running across the lanes. But Jack Malloy, and we need to flag him as the wild card of the group, the volatile one, he trips. He stumbles and falls right in the middle of the asphalt. And there are headlights bearing down on him fast. multiple cars.
Now, most people in that situation, your brain just shuts down. The fight or flight response kicks in. You either freeze or you run away to save yourself.
Jimmy McCaffrey does neither, or rather, he fights, but in a very specific way. This is the moment the Superman persona is truly born. The text describes it as a physical sensation of his skin sizzling.
Like an electric current.
Yes, and time slows down for him. It's a state of hyperfocus. He doesn't panic. He steps toward the cars.
He walks into traffic, toward the danger.
He literally walks into the path of the oncoming cars, holds his hands up, waves his arms, commands the space, and forces the cars to screech to a halt just inches from Jack. He creates a bubble of safety around his friend. He controls the chaos.
That is a superpower. That's not a normal human reaction. That's the first in, last out mentality in its rawest form. He is the protector. He realizes in that moment that he can impose his will on disaster.
And it's crucial to watch Tom Malloy in this scene. Tom is Jack's brother, the kid who fell. What does Tom do? The book says Tom freezes. Or rather, he calculates. He sees the cars coming, he sees Jack on the ground, and he realizes he can't physically stop the car. The physics don't work. So he does nothing.
He's the thinker, not the actor.
Precisely. Which brings us to the other defining flashback, this one for Tom Malloy. The schoolyard incident in October 1968. This one is dark. It tells you everything you need to know about the difference between a hero and a prince.
Okay, set the scene.
So go back 10 years. They are all little kids. The local bullies, the Spano brothers, are beating up a smaller kid named Polly in the schoolyard. Jimmy, predictably, wants to jump in and fight them. That's his only instinct. See a fire, fight the fire. See a bully, punch the bully.
But Tom stops him. Why? He wants to help his friend, right?
He does. But he knows that if they start a fistfight, his brother Jack will go crazy. Jack has a terrible temper. If Jack gets involved, someone gets seriously hurt, maybe a kid ends up in the hospital, and they all get in huge trouble. Tom is the strategist. He wants to win without bleeding.
So what does he do? This is the part of the book that just chills me.
He waits. He doesn't act in the moment. He waits until the Spanos are back in class. He goes to their locker, and he takes a book bag belonging to one of the bullies, and he soaks it in gasoline.
Gasoline. He brings gasoline to school as a child.
A small can of it, and he doesn't light it. That's the genius and the darkness of the plan. He just puts the wet bag back in the locker and lets the fumes do the work. The teacher smells the gas, investigates, finds the bag, and assumes the Spanos are wannabe arsonists.
So they get blamed for a crime they didn't even know was happening.
They get hauled off by their terrifying father. They disappear from the schoolyard. Problem solved. No punches thrown. No bloodshed.
That is Machiavellian. It's brilliant and terrifying.
It is, and it establishes Tom as the prince. He's the one who becomes the legitimate businessman trying to clean up the family name, but he's always using strategy and manipulation, never getting his own hands dirty. He knows how to use the system or subvert it to protect his tribe.
And then there is the ghost of the group, Marky Keegan. We can't tell this story without understanding Marky.
Marky is the heart and the tragedy of the group. He was the fool. Small, sweet, constantly screwing up, but with a heart of gold. He was hopelessly devoted to Sally, who is seen as the princess.
There's a story that illustrates his character perfectly, right? The kitten story.
It's so sweet and sad. Sally's beloved cat runs away. She's heartbroken. Marky spends all day, the entire day, looking for it. He fails. He can't find it. But he can't bear to go back to her empty-handed and see her sad.
So what does he do?
He finds a stray white kitten under a porch, scoops it up, and brings it to her instead, just to see her smile, just to try and fix it. He wasn't smart like Tom, he wasn't brave like Jimmy, but he was pure heart.
But the tragedy is that Marky, this sweet, bumbling guy, ends up a killer.
It was, by all accounts, self-defense. Jack Malloy, the volatile brother, went off the deep end as an adult. He got into drugs, he was aggressive, paranoid. He pulls a gun on Marky during an argument over money.
And Marky panics.
He panics. There's a struggle, and Marky, in a moment of pure terror, shoots Jack with his own gun.
This just shattered the group. Jack is dead. Marky goes to prison, not for murder, but for possessing the unlicensed gun.
And then the final tragedy, Marky dies in prison. He gets into a brawl, gets shanked. It's a pointless, ugly end.
And here is the debt. This is the psychological pivot point for everything that follows in their adult lives. Jimmy McCaffrey, the Superman, the protector. He failed.
He failed. He couldn't save Jack from his own demons, and he couldn't save Marky from the consequences. He wasn't there.
So he takes on a life debt. He decides, I couldn't save Marky, but I will save his family. I will not fail them too.
He becomes the surrogate father to Marky's young son, Kevin, and the silent protector of Marky's widow, Sally.
But protection costs money. Raising a kid costs money. College costs money. And that brings us finally to Section 3. The money, the lawyer, and the mob. This is the investigative meat of the story.
This is where the detective work in the book really shines. The setup is this. For 20 years since Marky's death, Sally Keegan has been receiving a monthly check, like clockwork.
And this isn't a small amount of money.
No, it's enough to live on. It kept a roof over her head. It paid for Kevin's private school and eventually college. It allowed her to maintain a middle-class life without having to work 3 jobs.
And the story she was told, the story everyone in their circle was told, was that Jimmy, the hero, had sued the state of New York for Marky's wrongful death in prison and won a huge settlement.
It's a great cover story. It sounds plausible. Jimmy fights for his friends. The state was negligent in protecting an inmate. They settled out of court to avoid a messy trial. It's a clean story. Makes Jimmy even more of a hero.
But Harry Randall, being the good reporter he is, he doesn't just accept the story. He checks the records. And what does he find?
Nothing. A black hole. The state of New York has no record of a lawsuit, no record of a settlement, no record of any payout to the Keegan family. The entire story is a fabrication.
So the money is a ghost. It's coming from nowhere.
Or somewhere much, much darker. And this leads us to Phil Constantine, the lawyer.
I love this character. He adds such a different flavor to the group. He's the ultimate outsider trying to get in.
He is. He's Jewish in this very insular Irish-Italian Catholic neighborhood. He's a cynical defense attorney who defends criminals for a living. But he is hopelessly, painfully in love with Sally Keegan.
And has been since they were teenagers.
Unrequited love is a powerful motivator. And it turns out Phil was the bagman. He was the one physically handing Sally the cash-stuffed envelope every month. He lied to her face for 20 years.
So why? Why lie? Why be part of this deception?
To protect her dignity. Think about it. If she knew the money was charity, or worse, dirty money, her pride wouldn't have let her take it. Phil wanted her to feel secure. He wanted her to feel like she was owed this, that it was justice. In his own way, he wanted to be the hero in her story, even if it was a lie.
He was providing for her in the only way he could.
The only way he was allowed to. But if the money wasn't from the state and Phil was just the conduit, where did it come from? This is the bombshell Harry Randall was about to drop. This is the thing that threatens the saint status of Jimmy McCaffrey.
And the trail leads back to the schoolyard.
It leads back to the bullies, the Spano brothers, specifically Eddie Spano.
Who's now a wealthy developer with reputed underworld ties, which is, polite newspaper speak for the mob.
Correct. Eddie Spano runs the construction rackets on Staten Island. He's the guy you go to when you need things done off the books, when you need permits to magically appear, when you need a union problem to go away.
And Harry Randall found the link. The money keeping Sally Keegan afloat for 2 decades was coming from Eddie Spano.
It was being laundered through Phil Constantine's law firm and given to Sally, all under the guise of a state settlement orchestrated by Jimmy McCaffrey.
Let's just pause and really look at this. Jimmy McCaffrey, the saint of the FDNY, the guy on the posters, the man who ran into burning buildings to save cats, was taking money from the mob.
That is the accusation that Harry was about to prove.
So the big question is why? Why would Superman make a deal with the devil?
Because the lawful path failed. Look at the logic from Jimmy's perspective. The state let Marky die in their custody. The state gave his widow nothing. The system failed. Jimmy operates on a higher moral code loyalty to the tribe. If the system won't help your people, you go outside the system.
It's Robin Hood logic. He's not taking it for himself.
Exactly. It's the ends justify the means. He needed to provide for Marky's family, and Eddie Spano had the resources, so he made a deal.
But it's incredibly dangerous. Once you take that money, you are compromised. You owe a favor. And it raises the question, does the source of the money taint the good it does?
That's the core dilemma. That dirty money raised Kevin Keegan, and Kevin Keegan grew up to be a firefighter.
Who was in the towers on 9/11 and survived.
Exactly. The legacy of that dirty money is a life saved. A hero made in the image of the man who secretly provided for him. It's incredibly, beautifully, morally gray.
Let's talk about the women left behind in all this, because they are the ones holding the emotional weight of these secrets. We mentioned Sally, the widow, who is, in a way, living in this blissful lie. But then there is Marion Gallagher,
Marion is the keeper of the flame. She's a fascinating character. She was Jimmy's childhood sweetheart, the one he was supposed to end up with. Now she runs the McCaffrey Memorial Fund. She is the public face of his sainthood.
She organizes the benefits, she talks to the press, she maintains the legend.
She does, but privately. She is terrified. She is living in a state of profound cognitive dissonance.
There is a flashback to 1978 under a bridge where Jimmy breaks up with her. It's so sad. He tells her he wants to be someone different.
He was already pulling away, already becoming the myth. He knew he couldn't have a normal domestic life, a wife, kids, a mortgage, and also be Superman. He had to choose, and he chose the city.
Marion has this metaphor that I found really touching and also philosophically deep. The teepee.
Yes, this is a crucial insight into her character. She explains that she believes society is like a teepee. If everyone brings a stick, if everyone acts good and follows the rules and does their part, we create a shelter. We prop each other up.
But she's terrified that people like Harry Randall, the cynics, the investigators, are going to pull the sticks out.
And if you pull the sticks out, the whole structure comes down, the shelter collapses, and everyone is left out in the cold. She sees Harry Randall not just as a nuisance, but as an existential threat to the community's safety and sanity.
She actually rejects a $50,000 donation from Eddie Spano to the fund after 9/11.
She's trying to keep the myth clean.
She is. She knows something is wrong. She suspects Jimmy had dealings with Spano, but she doesn't want to look at it. She is willfully blind because the truth is too dangerous to her teepee. She is protecting the myth because the myth is all she has left of him. If she admits he was flawed, she loses him all over again.
Perfectly put. And then there's the son, Kevin Keegan, the probie, the boy raised on mob money who became a hero.
He's the living legacy of the whole group.
He is, and this is the most, almost spiritual part of the story. Kevin is in the North Tower on 9/11 with Jimmy's old company. The tower comes down. He gets buried in the rubble. He is trapped in the dark, unable to move, air running out, bleeding.
And he hears a voice.
He hears Jimmy's voice, clear as day, in his head, telling him, go left, head toward the daylight, keep moving.
Now, was it actually Jimmy? Was it a ghost?
The timeline suggests Jimmy was already gone, or deep in the building elsewhere. So it could have been a hallucination brought on by hypoxia and trauma. It could have been a spiritual visitation, but the message is clear, in a narrative sense. Jimmy stayed behind to make sure the son made it out.
It completes the circle. He couldn't save Marky, the father, but he saved Kevin, the son.
Even from beyond the grave, he paid his debt.
Which brings us back to the present mystery, the body under the bridge. We know why Jimmy might have taken the money. We know why the friends and lovers are protecting his memory. But we still need to know, did Harry Randall jump or was he pushed?
This is Section 5, the climax. And to solve this, we have to look at Laura Stone.
Laura is Harry's colleague at the Tribune and his lover. His very complicated on-again, off-again lover.
She is the only one who refuses to accept the suicide narrative. Not for a second. She knows Harry, she knows his darkness, but she also knows his drive. And she points out 3 crucial clues that the police, who were all too happy to close the case, missed.
Let's break them down.
Yeah.
Clue number 1, the roses.
Harry had been depressed for a long time. He was cynical, let himself go a bit, but the week he died, out of the blue, he brought Laura roses.
Which is not something he did.
Not at all. That is not the act of a man planning to end it all. That is a man making plans for the future. That is a man trying to repair a relationship, trying to start over.
Okay. Clue number 2, the hunter's glint.
Laura describes his demeanor in the days before his death. He wasn't slumped over his desk. He wasn't drinking himself into a stupor in some dark bar. He was energized. He was manic with the thrill of the chase. She said he had the hunter's glint in his eye again.
He was Harry Randall again. He was back.
He was back. He had the scent of blood. He was about to land the biggest story of his career.
And clue number 3, the smoking gun. The email.
This is the definitive proof. He sent an email to Laura shortly before he died. The subject line was one word in all caps. Wooey.
Wooey. That is not a suicide note. That is a victory lap.
Not even close. And the text of the email said, I'm onto something. McCaffrey left papers. Hot stuff.
McCaffrey left papers. That is the MacGuffin. That is the treasure chest. That's the proof.
Jimmy, it seems, was not just a hero. He was also smart. He knew his dealings with Spano were dangerous. He left behind some kind of insurance policy, papers, documents, something that laid it all out.
And Harry was on his way to retrieve these papers, proof of the money, proof of the deal with Spano, proof of the Saints' corruption, when he ended up under that bridge.
So Laura's theory is simple. Harry got too close. He was going to expose the saint, and not just the saint, but the whole web of secrets holding this group of friends together. And someone, maybe the mob, maybe Spano, maybe even Tom Malloy, trying to protect the family name, stopped him. Permanently.
She visualizes the death scene in the book. It's haunting.
It is. She imagines him on the bridge, not just giving up. She imagines him fighting, kicking, clawing, holding onto the railing for dear life. Harry Randall wouldn't drift into the night. He would go down swinging. He was a fighter to the very end.
The newspaper, the Tribune, eventually backs her up. Leo, the editor, who is this hard-nosed skeptic, he's called the unbeliever in the book, he changes his tune.
He was ready to write Harry off as a drunk.
But the evidence becomes too much. He runs a story implying Harry was murdered by organized crime, basically pointing the finger at Spano and the Malloy family interests. They dare the killers to sue them.
It's a powerful moment of the press reclaiming its role. For weeks after 9/11, the press had been tiptoeing around the heroes, writing hagiographies. But here, they stop being afraid of the hero myth and start demanding the truth. They realize that a dead reporter is a hero worth fighting for, too.
So let's synthesize all this. We have the timelines converging. The childhood trauma of the 70s, the national trauma of 2001, the secrets of the playground are meeting the secrets of the FDNY.
And the deep dive insight here, if we zoom out, is about structural collapse.
Explain that. That's a heavy concept.
Think about the Twin Towers. They stood for decades. They looked solid. They were icons of strength and permanence. But when they were hit, they didn't just break. They pulverized. They collapsed into dust that covered everything for miles.
And the story is arguing that these people, the 7 friends, were like those towers.
Exactly. They built their lives on secrets, on carefully constructed lies, on protecting each other. Tom protected Jack. Jimmy protected Marky. Phil protected Sally. Marion protected Jimmy's memory. They built these elaborate internal structures to keep the painful truth out.
But the trauma of 9/11 shook the foundation. It was an impact that was too great. It caused the walls to crack.
And the dust of the past, the bullying, the gasoline, the shooting, the dirty money, it's all being kicked up into the air. It's charking everyone.
You can't breathe the air in New York in 2001 without breathing in the past. That's what Rozan is saying.
Yeah.
The new normal isn't a fresh start. It's a reckoning with everything that came before.
It is.
So we have to answer the moral question. The ambiguity that Rozan leaves us with. Was Jimmy McCaffrey a hero?
That's the hard one, isn't it?
I mean, he took mob money. He lied to people he loved his whole life. He associated with criminals. That's not what we think of when we picture a hero.
He did all of those things. But I think the source material argues, yes, unquestionably, he was a hero.
How do you justify that? How does the book justify it?
Because heroism isn't about purity. It's not about being a Boy Scout and never telling a lie. It's about sacrifice. Jimmy didn't take the money for sports cars or jewelry or a vacation home in Florida.
He got nothing out of it personally.
Nothing. He took it to save a child when the world had turned its back on that child. He compromised his own soul to save his friend's family. He dirtied his hands to keep theirs clean.
It's a different kind of bravery.
It's a moral bravery. It's that Phil Constantine epiphany near the end of the book. He says, in a world where buildings fall down, truth might be the only solid thing left, even if it hurts. But Jimmy's truth was loyalty. He was loyal to the end, to his tribe.
And look at the cost. Phil lived a lie. Marion lived in denial. Jimmy carried the weight of Marky's death his whole life. They were all carrying these heavy, heavy stones so that the next generation, Kevin, could be light enough to survive and fly.
And what about Harry Randall, the scoundrel? Was he a hero in the end?
That's a great question. Was he?
I think so, in his own way. He died for the truth. He redeemed himself. He wasn't just a washed-up drunk in the end. He was a reporter. He was doing his job. He was trying to keep the record straight in a world that was desperate for a comforting lie.
I want to end with the image the book leaves us with. It's so quiet, but so powerful. Laura Stone sitting at Harry's desk.
It's a quiet moment. The newsroom is buzzing around her, but she's in this little bubble. She's gathering his files. She's not crying. She's working.
She is taking up the mantle. She is the new hunter.
She knows he wouldn't leave without saying goodbye. And she knows the story isn't finished until those papers, McCaffrey's papers, are found. Until the truth is printed.
So here is the question for you, the learner listening to this. We live in a world that is constantly looking for heroes. We put people on pedestals. We want them to be Superman. We want them to be perfect.
But Superman is a comic book. Real people are messy. Real people have shadows. They make compromises.
Is it an act of betrayal to look for the flaws in our heroes? To ask where the money came from? to ask what they did in the shadows when nobody was looking?
Or is it the ultimate act of respect? To say, I see you, I see the good, I see the bad, I see the compromises you made, and I accept the whole person.
Does knowing the complicated truth diminish the heroism of what Jimmy did on 9/11? Or does it actually make it more real, more profound, because it shows the incredible lengths he went to for the people he loved?
I think Absent Friend suggests that the real mystery isn't who killed Harry Randall. It's who are we, really, when the towers fall and the dust settles?
Are we the legends people tell about us? Or are we the secrets we keep?
That is something to chew on. Go find the missing papers in your own life. Dig up the truth. It might be sharper and more complicated than you think.
But it's the only thing that's solid.
Absolutely.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.